Howdy folks, welcome to the channel Rockin' the Country. I'm Don and we are on to part 4 of a 5-parter courtesy of Renee Mooberry of Dwight Yoakam, the dancing man who was too nervous to ask Renee for a date. But we're trying to soften it around here so that Dwight finally steps up to the plate and has the courage to ask Renee for an actual date, or at least give her an acknowledgement. Okay, so anyway, it's Dwight Yoakam's one-time live #1, Guitars Cadillacs, from March 7th, 2021, which was during COVID. So they did this sort of, it probably was more impromptu. They set it up and they got their musicians there for the most part, and it's very cool. So thank you for the gift and request and your love of all things Dwight, and we're waiting for him to reciprocate. All right, here we go, guys. Part 4 of 5.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hey, look yonder, Henry comes the sheriff. He's carrying a warrant in his hand.
Ruh-roh.
Don't you run, go, Henry, or he'll shoot you. Not long will you be a free man. 20 years you must spend behind steel bars for a crime that you did not do.
Uh-oh, that's bad.
And she swore in that district court has proved to be the rule of you. Tried to warn you, Henry, not to cross her. Tried to tell you of her vengeful ways. When you turned and left her for another, he swore, Henry, that she'd make you pay. That 20 years you must stand behind steel bars for a crime that you did not do. Yeah, she swore in that district court has proved to be the rule of you.
Nice fun guitar right there. I love that. He just stands there calmly.
He'd listen, poor Henry, and never learn. But even hell, with all its fiery power, have no fury like a woman's scorn. 20 years you must
See him?
stand behind steel bars for a crime that you did not do.
So cool.
She swore in that district court has proved to be the rule of you. Yeah, she swore in that district court has proved to be the rule of you.
Into the next one. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. He's moving.
It's a burning thing.
Yeah.
And it's a fiery rain.
Yeah.
I'm bound by wild desire. I feel in fire. I fell in the burning fire. I went down, down, down and flew. I'm high on fire. Burn, burn, the ring of fire, the ring of fire. taste of love is sweet, going hard like out of me. I feel for you like a child. Ooh, but the fire went wild. I fell in the burning fire. I went down, 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 and the bird
Such a great song.
burn, burn, the ring of fire, the ring of fire.
This is such a contrast. He's so stoic, the fiddler, and Dwight.
Let me throw just another question or two. Warner Brothers signed
Lewis.
you. The album comes out, and really and truly, it did take off.
No, absolutely. I think that Tab Rex, who put out the independent EP that, you know, I sold to Warner's, the Guitars Cadillacs LP, it was a 12-inch, 6-song LP. Came out in '84. I think it sold about 30,000 units, which was a lot for a record that had no distribution. And it was in Chicago, written up here, of course, in L.A., and then it was written up at the Chicago Sun-Times and New York in the East Village Eye, which is an equivalent to the L.A. Weekly. And Bob Claypool found us down in Houston, Texas, when we went down with the Blasters and performed a show down there in Houston, and then back over at... oh, my Lord. Brantley, I just thought about that drive with that Cadillac, that 61 Cadillac, pulling a trailer, and the windshield wiper came off near Van Horn, Texas. I don't know if you remember this. Pete was driving. I was in the back seat trying to sleep because we didn't have money for motels. None of that. We were just trying to get to Houston, drove straight through from L.A. to get to Houston, pulling a trailer, and Jeff, Dom, and J.D. were in one of the others, like little Mitsubishi station wagon or something, following us, like gripped the wheel. Brantley was in the front seat, and we were overheating near Wilcox, Arizona. It blew like a water pump or something. And so Pete and Brantley were in the front seat driving, and this is in the summer, across I-10 with the heater going. I looked over at one point, Brantley, I thought Brantley was dead. He looked like a monk who had set himself on fire in the front seat. He had shorts on, khaki shorts, and was sitting like this. Just like, you know, it was. We had the windows down, but we got to near Van Horn, Texas, and one of those West Texas thunderstorms started happening. It rained so hard it blew the windshield wiper off of that 61 Cadillac. So we pulled into a truck stop. They didn't have any wipers for that car. And they took the wiper off of the passenger side and put it on the driver's side. Do you remember that? And it would wipe off the windshield while we were going. And that's how we drove the next 3 hours on the way to San Antonio, which is where we
gotta do what you gotta do.
We had whatever bit of breakfast we could afford at a Denny's, and went on into Houston. We made it in time. Literally, we may have gotten half a sound check, and that's how close we got there, and played with the Blasters there. Then we played with them again, and Claypool wrote about us after that show. So it was a series of things that started to build a national awareness. We also were taken with the Blasters again to the Ritz in New York City, and
All right. This is why I say too, when anybody says that somebody's an overnight success, it's because they're not hearing these stories. Because for every artist that makes it, there's 100 or 500 that don't, or at least even the ones that get signed to labels. For every artist that makes it and has a career that goes on for a couple of albums and maybe goes on for 10 or 20 years or whatever, of course, you'll have more than 2 albums if you do it for that long. But they've paid their dues this way. Most don't even make it. But even the ones that do have stories like this. Even Taylor Swift, who was like, a humongous name, like in her teens, she still has stories of things. Guarantee it, she's got stories. Now, hers is a storybook life at this point. I mean, I can't say I'd want it because you can't go anywhere without being mobbed. I like being able to be anonymous in places. But this is one of the stories that Dwight's saying of like trying to get, and it shapes you. It shows how determined they were, but there were other artists just as determined who never made it. Nobody's an overnight success like that where you're just, poof, everything is great. It just doesn't work that way.
And played there in the spring before the Warner LP would come out at the end of, the beginning of '86. In '85, we went there with the Blasters. But it was on the way back through. We stopped in Austin and played the Opry House on that trip. And the Blasters, took us to both gigs with them. And Paige Rowden and I believe Martha Sharp came down from Warner Brothers. They'd heard about this upstart hillbilly thing that was going on in L.A., and particularly they'd come across the EP, that 6-song LP that we had put out on Oak, and which was a label that was loaned to me to use because Ray Ruff, the record producer, who had been involved with Dot Records and then Curb Records and had actually had a lot to do with...
I'd love to have a producer
Debbie
on.
Boone's big hit, You Light Up My Life. And so he had a hillbilly label, or country label, Oak Records. And so his sister happened to work at that P&D company. And they loaned us the label, the imprint. So put that out. And Paige had come across the record and came down there, flew into Austin to watch us perform. Because prior to that, I'd opened for Nick Lowe at the Palace, the old Palace on Vine Street right up here in Hollywood. And RCA Records had come out to see if they were interested in signing. They said, I don't know. They said, it's awfully rock and roll. What we were doing, it was just, Bill Monroe starts the set. It's like, well, how's that rock and roll? Other than, Bill Monroe was rock and roll before there was rock and roll. And Paige and Martha came down there, and Paige went back to Nashville after seeing us and demanded that the Nashville division sign us. Jim Ed Norman said, hey, if you feel that strongly about it, sign him. And Lenny Waronker gave me sound advice. I couldn't have landed at a better record label than Warner Brothers in 1985. Still under the guidance of Mo Austin and Lenny Waronker, two of the great record men ever. They treated artists with dignity and respect. The Warner record label legacy is all about that. Was at one time. All record labels have changed. They're down to 3 of the majors left. But when I think about it, and you mentioned the Slash record, kind of query, again, where I was taken in there and you were championing me being signed by Slash, and Bob wisely said, it's not for us to handle, it's somebody else, because I was straddling, both sides of that fence. So, yes, things immediately took off. That little 6-song LP that did when we put out Honky Tonk Man, its first track.
Well, here's my last question about the first album. What did it feel like when it got to be so successful? What did you feel inside when all that happened, Dwight? Because it'd been a long road for you.
Blurry, because you don't realize it's happening, because records take time. It's not like a movie that opens over a weekend. I said it to some actor friends of mine one time. I said, somebody that had just been in something that really made him famous, literally over a wide opening weekend. It was a big movie that opened nationwide. And I said, well, it's different. I said, it was different for me. I said, because the single came out, it's 12 weeks, 14 weeks for Honky Tonk Man to get on the charts and go all the way to the top 5. So when Chris Hillman and I talked about the Byrds and that 3-month build-up that they played as a house band at I think, Ciro's, and he told me about it slowly built there live. Warren Beatty would come in and bring a table of people, and Marlon Brando, which he said, so we were kind of, by the time we broke nationally, we were kind of nonplussed. Mr. Tambourine Man was climbing the charts, and it was that way for us, and for me, it was slow. And then we got on a bus and didn't come home for 10 months, and it almost killed all of us. Brantley included. There was one instance at the end of that first tour. Do you remember Pete decided they had a wooden dash on that bus? They had barnwood, if you remember this. And he took a lock blade knife to amuse him to pass the time. 10 months. We didn't come back to L.A. He was throwing that lock blade knife just to see it stick in the wood dash. We were toward the end at that point of that first year. And JD and Pete both chose to, pursue things the next year that were, Pete was off into producing, and JD actually started producing and left the band. Brantley stayed with me. David Jackson came out with us that year and roomed with Brantley to Brantley's delight. David's an affable and entertaining man and a brilliant musician. I mean, one of the great bass players ever. Came out of, he was one of the founding members of the Dillard and Clark expedition, right? One of the early offshoots of the Byrds. So it was kind of fuzzy how it happened. You felt it happening. It was on the radio, you heard. There was a video. It was getting played on at that time.
All right, I'm going to hold it there, and we're going to go into part 5 tomorrow. But this stuff is just fascinating, and as fascinating as what I'm learning is the fact that Dwight remembers the nuances of all this, and he's also very eloquent. He's able to put into perspective things very rapidly. Even his recounting of how for musicians versus actors or actresses, a movie comes out on a weekend and boom, an unknown, a Marissa Tomei, all of a sudden everybody knows who she is instantly. Now, she too had to cut her acting chops in lots of other places. She was in probably bad plays, but she started in high school probably. This is just sort of like the blueprint of actors and actresses for a lot of them, where they start in their drama classes in high school or middle school, and then they do this, and then they go here, and it flopped, and it did this, and they kept learning their craft and all that stuff. But they get known overnight, like an overnight sensation, yes, but not an overnight success, because they were cutting their teeth for years. And Dwight was just saying how for him, it's like, or for musicians, it's like you release a single and then you got to wait for it to climb the charts. Now, some might just, hit the charts with a bullet, as they say. And so you might get known for that, but you also might just become a one-hit wonder, Mike and the Mechanics, In the Living Years, or whomever. I think Terry Jacks' Seasons in the Sun. These are phenomenal songs of the year type things, but I don't know anything else by them. So you get known, you get your name when you have that one hit, but as far as longevity and staying power goes, it took 12 weeks, he said, for it to get into the top 5 on the charts, and then other songs come out. And then they're on the road. And so it takes a long time to feel it. But the way Dwight is able to capture in words and delineate between, say, or draw a distinction between actors and actresses, because he's both. He's in movies with A-listers, and he's obviously in music. So he's qualified to speak on this subject. So, Renee, Thank you, my dear. We got a little bit of dancing in there, but I know I don't know if you've watched this actually, but this is fascinating because I learn a lot and I love to learn. All right, guys, have a wonderful day. I'll see you on another video and keep rocking the country.